Welcome back to the NRL Punters Weekly Digest, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know leading into this week's NRL matches. Although this week there are no NRL matches because it's State of Origin Game 2 this Sunday evening, coming live to you from Suncorp Stadium. And this is our preview special of that game. If you'll remember, I didn't do a preview special for the first State of Origin game because that was a week where I was having a sabbatical. I was taking a little bit of time away from the YouTube, and because it's hard work. It's hard work. It's a young person's game, I've got to admit. I'm 37 now. I ain't releasing videos on a daily basis. You know, I got other stuff going on. You know, I got other projects I'm working on. I got a full-time job. I got all that sort of stuff. So I take my hat off to all you YouTubers out there that are doing the business. You know, even if it's not every day, you're doing like 4, 5, 6 episodes a week of whatever you're doing. Hats off to you. I'm a bit older. I'm doing what I can, man. I'm doing it all for you. Let's get into it. We've got a lot to unpack. So, Sunday evening. The Maroons, the embarrassed Maroons, the emotionally and mentally, you'd have to imagine, disillusioned and drained Maroons take on the sublime New South Wales Blues from Suncorp Stadium at 8:10 p.m. Suncorp Stadium, of course, is the hallowed turf for the Queensland Maroons. It's the spiritual home of rugby league in Queensland, and it's so damn spiritual that Lang Park, as it's traditionally called, now Suncorp Stadium, because you know, we got to have sponsors and stuff. Sponsors got to sponsor everything, you know. Things don't pay for themselves. But Lang Park was built on a cemetery, on the old Brisbane cemetery. There are literally souls in the ground. That's how spiritual things are. And I've got a team lineup for you for both sides. I know you would have seen this before, but I want to unpack these 1 to 17s. Let's go through it. For the Maroons, Reece Walsh, the surprise addition at fullback. He was a guy that I think, if you remember from my predicted team, or my, what did I call it? Predicted team, or was it the team that I wanted, the team that I would pick if I was the Queensland coach? I had him as a utility option. He's been picked at fullback. Obviously there's some injuries in the Queensland camp. Wingers, Holmes and Felt. Xavier Coates was the unfortunate recipient of a tap on the shoulder. Hey, mate, you're not playing game 2. They've gone with Holmes and Felt on the wings. In the centres, Capewell, Gagai. Front row, Welch, McCullough, and Josh Papali'i. 2 of the best front rows in the world. Good to see them back in the side. Christian Welch, obviously not back in the side. He was in game 1, but he only played 12 minutes, so it'll be good to get, you know, a decent stint out of he and Josh Papali'i. Hoping they don't get injured because we just don't have the depth to cover that. Andrew McCullough, well, our 2 best hookers are both injured, and Harry Grant and old mates Reed Marnie. So McCullough gets the call up, obviously very experienced. Back row, Jai Arrow, Felice Kafusi, and Tino Fa'asua Maliawi. And then on the bench, we've gone with Ben Hunt, who was in sublime form against the Raiders last week. He really put on a masterclass and essentially won the Dragons the game as far as I'm concerned. Mo Fotuaika returns. David Fifita has been benched. He wasn't great in State of Origin Game 1, so hopefully he can provide some impact off the bench. And Francis Molo, a surprise pick, but Paul Green, obviously having coached him before, big fan of him, likes what he's seen from him this year, has named him in the 17. And then in the reserves, we've got Cohen Hess and Ronaldo Mulatalo, who would be debuting if he gets a 23rd hour call-up, I guess you'd say. For the Blues, really not too much in terms of changes there for them. Back 7 stay the same. And how good are they? They are as named in Origin 1. Front row also the same, I believe. No changes there. Back row, a little bit of a change there, I think, if I'm not mistaken. We've got Cam Murray, Tarek Sims, and Isaiah Yeo. And then on the bench, we've got... Actually, no, I believe that was the same starting back row. I do apologise. On the bench, we've got Jack Whiten. Angus Crichton returns from suspension. He's a no-brain selection, obviously. Payne Haas also on the bench, and Liam Martin. And then to round out their reserves, we've got Api Coruscant, Campbell Graham, and Dale Finucane. Dale Finucane perhaps a little bit unlucky to not be in that 17, but oh well. Personally, I wouldn't have had Jack Whiten in there. As you know, being a Raiders fan, I'm very impartial to Jack Whiten. I think he's an outstanding player. He's not playing like a Dally M player, though. He's definitely not this year. He's really gone missing. He's lucky to retain his side in the 17, but look, good on Brad Fittler for showing that loyalty to a player who can offer so much when he's on song. And he'll need to be this week because the Blues are playing the Maroons at home. Don't let that game one scoreline fool you into believing that the Maroons can't pull off an upset here. They've done it so many times before. Last year, they weren't expected to win the series. Somehow they managed to pull it off. And I think they scored less points on aggregate than the Blues, but they still managed to win the series. You've just got to win the games. Doesn't matter how many points you win by. And if Queensland win game 2, it's not going to be by many. You just have to get the dub. That's all you got to do. So those are our team lists. I've identified 4 key matchups here, which I think will go a long way to determining the outcome of this game. And you can let me know any potential matchups that you think that I've left out, that you think are also critical to the outcome of this game, whether it goes the Blues or the Maroons side. Let me know in the comments section below. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts because obviously I'm just a footy fan that has an opinion just like you, except, I'm silly enough to put this stuff on the internet where I can get crucified by random strangers. Anyway, let's get into it. Key matchup number 1, the fullbacks. Obviously, the fullback, as we know, is the most important position in the modern rugby league game. And this is a mouth-watering and intriguing matchup, I'm going to say. You've got James Tedesco. Can you say he's the world's best fullback anymore, or is it Tommy Turbo? Look, we'll say that Teddy's got the runs on the board for a period of time. I think personally, that Tommy Turbo is the better player. But look, if I had the option to have both of them in my side, I probably would have Teddy at fullback and then Turbo would be my center because, let's be honest, he'll carve up no matter where you put him. So let's have a look at some stats here. James Tedesco, 2021 stats, 12 appearances, 7 tries, 8 try assists, 7 line breaks, 163 average running meters, and a tackle efficiency, which didn't fit on my little graphic, which you might be looking at right now, of 82.9%, which is quite good for a fullback. Obviously, with a fullback, you need to be making 9 out of 10 tackles, ideally, or close to. Because if you're not, then it probably means that you're conceding a try, because you're that last line of defense, obviously. For Reece Walsh, now, one thing I want to say about these stats here. James Tedesco only plays at fullback. His stats are purely from the fullback position, whereas Reece Walsh has been moved around a little bit this year. So it's a little bit unfair to compare like for like, but it's interesting to look at the stats anyway. So for Reece Walsh, 7 appearances this year, 4 tries, 8 try assists, 7 line breaks, 131 average running meters. Bear in mind, he has played in the halves too. 71.4 tackle efficiency there. Has had to tackle in the front line, so there's a degree of that to take into consideration. He's 18 years old. He's only a little fella. But still, very impressive stats for a young guy in his first season in the NRL. Next matchup I've got is Tommy Turbo versus Kurt Capewell. This is a no-brainer, this one here. Tommy Turbo almost single-handedly won that game 1 for the Blues. Obviously, it was a team effort, and there were definitely a lot of contributors there, but Tom Trbojevic was just outstanding at being able to exploit opportunities, which really opened the game up for the Blues. And if he wasn't scoring himself, then he was creating try-scoring opportunities for his outside men. Tommy Turbo this year, arguably the best player in the game at the moment. 8 appearances, 11 tries, 15 try assists, 40 tackle breaks, 13 line breaks, and 205 average running meters. Completely insane stats. Considering this guy was injured for the start of the year, as soon as he came back from injury, there was no teething period. He got straight into it. And he carved up for the Seagulls, who weren't going very well without him at the time. For Luke Capewell, this is another situation where it's perhaps unfair to compare these two stat lines here. Well, firstly, I mean, Tom Trbojevic has been playing fullback. He almost plays as, he's the second or third playmaking option for the Seagulls. He gets his hands on the ball a lot, whereas Capewell is more of a defensive-minded back rower, hasn't really played much in the centres at all. In fact, I think he's only played in the centres for Queensland this year in Game 1, and maybe he slotted in for the Panthers at points in the game. I haven't watched every single minute of all their games, so cannot confirm on that front. But essentially, these are back row stats. 11 appearances, 5 tries, 1 try assist, 5 line breaks, 1 line break assist, 94 average run meters. And I added this stat in here because it's very, very important. And it's particularly poignant given the matchup. 92% tackle efficiency. And he's going to need to every percent of that 92 and more to contain Tom Trbojevic. Jerome Luai versus Cameron Munster. Cam Munster went into Game 1 not 100%. We all know that. We know that on his day, Cam Munster is the best 5'8" in the world. Jerome Luai has made a lot of steps to kind of bridging that gap. But I wonder how much of how good Jerome Luai is, and I think he's a fantastic player, has to do with the fact that he's been playing with Nathan Cleary for such a long time. Now, Munster has played with great players too. He continues to play with great players. But I think on his individual merits, we know what Cam Munster can do when he doesn't necessarily have the support around him. Head-to-head stats here. Luai, 13 appearances this year, 1 try, 14 try assists, 15 line break assists, 12 forced dropouts. Outstanding stats. Just like mind-blowing. Jerome Luai is the perfect foil to Nathan Cleary. I love him as a player. I love his grit, his determination. As a Queenslander, it annoyed me to see him sledge and rub up the Maroons the way he did in the first game. But let's be honest. I mean, the Maroons are the original sledgers going all the way back to the start of State of Origin. So they're just copping a little bit back. I think that's okay. People are trying to make a thing out of it. I think it's fine. I like it. Shows character. I like the kid. Munster's played 11 times this year for the Storm. He's scored 3 tries. He's had 4 try assists, 4 line break assists, and 6 forced dropouts. Obviously, when you add those two stats up, you give Luai the points there. But Cameron Munster is who Cameron Munster is, and he's an outstanding player. And he's proven at a rep level. As far as I'm concerned, Luai has played one top flight rep level game. I believe he's played for Samoa before, but we all know that State of Origin football is the greatest brand of football that we have in the world. And Munster has aimed up time and time again. I expect him to be a lot better this game. I expect him to be hungry. I expect him, even though he's got nothing to prove, I expect him to go out there and prove something. He's the OG here, not Luai. Luai's the junior. Munster's got to make Luai his son. That, if I was Cameron Munster, that would be my mission. You're my son, I'm your dad, I'm going to show you that. Lastly, but definitely not leastly, Daniel Saifiti, one of the game's best props against, I still think, the game's best prop, Josh Papali'i. Now, Josh didn't start the season very well. He did one of those things that Josh has done over the past decade where he'll kind of have a period of less than half a dozen games. It's not many games where he's not at his best during the season. And I think that a lot of the time, and I can only speculate here, but based on him having to take a little bit of time away, Ricky Stewart allowing him to have a bit of a sabbatical. And it's not the first time he did it this year. I think he did it last year also, and perhaps the year before. Don't quote me on that one. But Josh is known for needing to take a little time away with his family and get his head right. To his credit, when he comes back. Josh Papali'i of old, every single time. And he has been that in the last few weeks. For Saifidi, stats-wise, 14 appearances, 3 tries, 21 tackle breaks, 13 offloads, 152 average running meters, 94% tackle efficiency. That's everything that you want from your prop and more. For Papali'i, over 11 appearances, 2 tries, 28 tackle breaks, 22 offloads, 143 average running meters, and 96% tackle efficiency. These guys are just about neck and neck. This is going to be such a great contest. And when we decompress Queensland's State of Origin Game 1 performance, we really can't understate the impact that not having Welsh and Papali'i there had on the Maroons. They're the engine room, they're the front runners, and they really missed out on that. And this actually leads me into the next part of my analysis, we should say, which is where will this game be won? And I'm saying up the middle. And I know that a lot of the time when we hear critics, analysts, journalists talk about where will the game be won, majority of the time it's up the middle, because that's where games are won. It's your front rowers lay the platform and present the opportunities for you to shift the ball out to the edges, and your edge guys do, the pretty fancy stuff, and they get the accolades, but it's really your engine room that lays that platform. And for the Maroons, as I mentioned earlier, they really missed Welsh and Papali'i. They struggled to get up the field without these guys. They conceded 46 average set meters to the Blues compared to 31.5 gained. That's a significant difference there. That means that the Blues are 15 meters better off each set. And they conceded a whopping 1,841 run meters, but only made 1,261. This is State of Origin football. Those stats traditionally are neck and neck, and that's where they need to be this game. I really expect these guys to clean up the rock in Papali'i and Welsh. They really missed that last game. The Queenslanders also look slow. That's another factor there. Both these guys have tackle efficiency rates of over 92%, and that's what you want from your best guys up front. Still talking about the middle of the field, Tom Trbojevic and Latrell Mitchell were stupidly awesome in Game 1. They scored tries, 3 tries to Tommy Turbo, 2 to Latrell, and they set up tries. Turbo set up 2, and Latrell set up 1, I believe, if I've got that correct. So they were in everything last game. But I mean, that's what you get when you get 2 of the world's best fullbacks playing in the centers. They've got the ball playing. They've got the defensive nous on the other side of the ball. And when they're not making opportunities for themselves, then obviously they're creating opportunities for their outside men and their inside men too. It's a really, really scary proposition. Dane Gagai and Kurt Capewell were really underdone. They were out of their element in Game 1. They're going to have to be better. Paul Green has put his faith in them. I think partly because, he believes in them and he believes they can do better because they've done better in the past. But also, it's just kind of a situational thing. Queensland just don't have the troops. They just don't have the depth at the moment. We're really low on choices. So those guys are going to have to be a lot better. And how do they contain these guys? I don't think they do. I think whilst they can't contain them, the best they can hope for is to restrict their impact on the game. They're going to get the good looks that they want. they're going to get to where they want to on the field because they're just that good. They've just got to be really, really good at restricting their time with the ball because these guys have got great footy IQ. Latrell and Turbo are just off the cuff, see what's in front of me kind of players. They've got to restrict their time with the ball and their time to think and make decisions, obviously. Now, I said the game's going to be one up the middle. That's a given. But it's also going to be one on the edges or lost on the edges. And when I say that, I'm referring specifically to Queensland's right edge and New South Wales's left edge. Queensland were so exposed on that right edge last game. And Toa was just able to do whatever he wanted to do. It was just... It was tough. It was tough to watch. It was really tough to watch as a Queensland fan. And even if I wasn't a Queensland fan, it would be tough to watch because this is State of Origin football. We don't want blowouts. We want close games. We want Darren Lockyer having to run the ball 10 metres out on the very last play of the game to score a try for Queensland, which sets up a dynasty for the next decade. We want that sort of stuff. You know? That's what we want to see. In the betting markets, let's have a look at some betting here. Head-to-head, bear in mind I pulled these stats off the Tab website a couple of days ago, so they're obviously a little bit out of date, but I can't imagine there's been too much movement there. It's all in New South Wales' favour. It's not going to go any other way. Some of you may say, oh, well, yeah, isn't that just typical? Queensland are always the underdogs. That's the way they like it. They are genuinely the underdogs here. There's no two ways about it. Queensland are the underdogs here. This is not a ploy. They are the underdogs. That New South Wales 1-17 is one of the most stacked football teams, whether it be State of Origin, international football, club football, that I've ever seen in my whole life. That team is stupidly good. That team would beat any country, any international side, any other team in this universe, any other rugby league team in this universe that could be put forward. That team, that New South Wales Blues team is annihilating them. You could argue it's possibly the best football team ever put on paper. Big call, but it's stupidly good. $4.30 if you think Queensland can pull one out of the bag. $1.22 for New South Wales. Anytime try scorers here. Look, if I'm being honest, I struggle to see where the points are going to come from for Queensland. Just being honest. I wish I could say, oh, it's going to come from Gagai. Gagai's going to pull something out of his hat. Or, you know, Kyle Felter's going to score a try. Or Reece Walsh is just going to woo everyone or woe everyone. You know, this young kid coming into the game and just breaking ankles, stepping everyone, and he's going to score. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't. I thought about it. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know where it's coming from. But what I've tried to do here is be impartial for my New South Wales fans and my Maroons fans here. I've picked 3 anytime try scorers from each side that I think, you know, a good chances. A chance for Queensland. It's our chances. And a bit of value too. So, Tommy Turbo, $1.95, no brainer. Latrell, $2.20, no brainer. That's money in the bank as far as I'm concerned. Nathan Cleary at $2.90. I really like that one there. When Cleary runs the ball, he's usually getting through a gap. Reece Walsh at $3.20. Why not? Throw that out there. That kid's got nothing to lose. People say, oh, it's unfair to... was it Phil Gould came out and said it was disgusting that the Queenslanders were putting Reece Walsh in there. It's unfair that he should be put under all this pressure. I don't know if he's saying that because he works for the Warriors or what, but as far as I'm concerned, Reece Walsh has no pressure on his shoulders. No pressure. No one's expecting him to single-handedly beat this exceptionally talented New South Wales side. All we're expecting from Reece Walsh is for him to do his job to the best of his ability. No one's expecting Queensland to win. No pressure for him. $3.20. Valentine Holmes, $2.40. Look, Val Holmes has an opportunity here to show why, before he left rugby league to go to the NFL, he was essentially the best winger in the NRL. He's not playing at fullback. I like him on the wing because we were really messy on the edges last week, and I think that really kind of solidifies, you know, both positionally, defensively, those edges there. And Josh Papali'i at $7. I'm gonna throw this out there. Josh Papali'i will be one of the spiritual leaders of this side. He's the forward leader. He's the most tenured. Look, I know he's been out of form. I said it earlier at the start of the year. People say that he lost his mantle as the best prop in the world. We know when Josh Papali'i is in form, he is the best prop in the world. You look at his stats. I know he played a lot of his career in the back row. He's got 50-odd tries to his name. He's played the last half decade in the front row. He scores a lot of tries for a forward. And 10 metres out, he's money. He's got spiders on him. In the margin markets, New South Wales 13 plus $1.75. That's the direction I'd be going in personally. Maybe throw that into a multi just so that you can, up that value a little bit. I like the New South Wales 13 plus into a Tommy Turbo or Latrell anytime try scorer. That's a good bet for mine. Maybe Josh Adokar if you want to throw that in there too. And then on the Queensland side, I think if Queensland win, it's going to be a 1-12 margin. $6.50 you get there. That's great value. I mean, I think if you're throwing the bank at New South Wales, I think it's worth hedging your bets with even like a $10 bet, even a $20, whatever you can spare on Queensland. It's good odds. My prediction, score-wise, 34-6 to New South Wales. 34-6. And I must reiterate, I don't know where the tries are coming from for Queensland. I know New South Wales have got at least 6 tries in them. I don't think it's going to be as bad as it was in game 1. I could be wrong. I don't know. This is a very unknown. It's unknown territory here. The teams, last year there was a bit of a divide in talent, yes. Queensland pulled a series win out of nowhere, as they do when they do that. But there hasn't been such a divide in talent in State of Origin football since before the start of the Queensland dynasty in 2006. But I don't think it's going to be a flogging. It's important to note, and I know it's been reported quite a lot. Brad Fittler has not won a game at Suncorp Stadium as Blues coach. I think that stat kind of goes out the window. That side is really, really good. And if they do what they're supposed to do, they'll win the game. And they should win the game. But that's an interesting stat. So something to bear in mind. If you've liked this video, please give me a like. I appreciate it. It helps me rank up, apparently. I heard another YouTuber say that. I don't know much about how the analytics work. I'm just putting stuff out there. Give me a like. I appreciate it. I appreciate the feedback. It makes me feel good. Leave me a comment in the comments section below. Let me know what you're betting on. As per usual, I always say that when I'm covering my best bets. Let me know what you're betting on. Maybe I'll whack a cheeky $5 on that. And let me know your thoughts on the outcome of this game. I feel like this series again is just it's a real kind of this game in particular is a real kind of unknown. You expect the Blues to win, but you just never know. You just never know. You've got the Suncorp factor. You've got the you got the Reece Walsh factor. Young players hungry. Again, I don't think he's going to win the game for the Maroons, but there are so many different narrative storylines happening. Anything could happen. And that's been the episode for this week. I'll see you back next week. We've got some NRL football. We've got 8 games, I believe. Just the normal schedule. We'll be back with the normal preview / team list / whatever you want to call it episode and the best bets. And then I'll have some kind of opinion piece. It's time to talk about whatever I'm calling it these days. This is all a metamorphosis, this channel and these videos. It's becoming something. I haven't decided what it is yet. But anyway, that's enough from me. I'll see you next time.